This is a new day and welcome everybody. This is our fifth crash course session. We started it at January of 2025 with Kim Kyle, registered dietitian. We decided that in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners, we have a lot of information there, and I invite people for the um, podcasts and different other events to explain newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes what their diagnosis is. But one thing both of us experienced in the past, people who diagnosed very often go to the meeting with the doctor and they're so anxious, they so nervous that a lot of information that doctors may gave them, maybe not, but maybe they did, they don't remember. And when they come home and talk with their loved ones, with people who care for them, who helping them, they usually don't remember what doctors say, or they didn't understand what the doctors say and they didn't remember because of this, or maybe they didn't bring up something that is important and they forgot to ask. So caregivers in this situation find themselves that they are really uh, swimming in the open waters without really any directions. And we thought that we can help them. And this is something that I needed when my husband got diagnosed, and he would go to the doctors and will never share with me details of his visit. And Kim had her experience with her father. So we decided that we will do this once a month, 2 hours for caregivers, the basic information that every person with diabetes probably been told or should know, but they maybe don't remember. But caregivers didn't get the chance to even remember. So let's dive in and talk about this. I wanted to share the information that how we will build today's meeting. So we will start with where is my document? Okay, and I want it to be like this. Well, something like that. Did I share it? No.
No, not yet. Keep trying.
Yes. So we will start with the introduction, and this is the what I'm talking right now, and Kim will have a chance to introduce herself. We will talk a little bit about important information. What are the essential facts about diabetes that doctors very often assume that everybody knows, but not everybody knows that. So Kim will talk about this um, very basic, important at the same time information to know about diabetes. She will go a little bit over the nutrition, and then she will have her presentation, which is pretty much the same thing, right? And at the after that, we will have a chance to talk a little bit about emotional aspects of this diagnosis, and also about the ways how caregivers can help and support. And then, of course, we will have the Q&A. So everybody who has questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. If you are watching the recordings, type your questions in the comments. And Kim and I will be visiting periodically these recordings, and we'll be answering them along the way. So with that, now our introduction. I am Irina Strunina. I am health strategist, and I'm doing all this for the last 5 years because I hope to help people who have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or whose loved ones been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and they didn't get much information. So When my husband got diagnosed, we had no information, period. His doctor didn't really educate him, or at least he didn't pass to me this information. Um, there was not YouTube or Facebook. There was a little bit of Google, but it was not what it is right now. So not much to go by. And because my husband was traveling consultant who was always on the road, he didn't have much time to focus on his health. And as a result of it, uncontrolled blood sugar eventually wore out his body, and the simple seasonal flu gave such complications that he passed away from the kidney failure. So this is my story, and I'm doing it to help other people to avoid situations like our family had to face. And Kim, this is your time now.
Well, thank you again, Irina. I really love doing these because I learn something every time I do presentations for you. And I had to remind myself going back to, heart health and diabetes 101 to be able to present all of that to you today. And it's really encouraging. I'm going to share with you the timeline of, this is just new stuff. I mean, we didn't know this 20 years ago. We know
Mm-hmm.
now, but this is very recent information that I'm going to present to you. And some of the posts that you may see about, healing from diabetes and cutting out carbs and, not and improving, heart health, I mean, are really there's so much misinformation out there. So let me clear some things up for you today.
Okay.
And, um, we're going to have lots of times to answer questions. And Irina, I do appreciate when you pause me in the middle of the presentation. If you think that you can expand on what you've learned with your husband, and so I appreciate your interruptions. It's a good thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the reason I'm a dietitian is because my dad had heart disease. We knew he had heart disease, but it was when he came back from a trip from Europe. And within 24 hours, he was at the cardiologist getting a stress test. They stopped him. They're like, oh, buddy, no way. We're not going to keep you on this treadmill. And 24 hours later, he was having open heart surgery, five-way bypasses, quintuple bypass surgery. He had four of the five were 100% blocked. The fifth one was just 98% blocked, but they're like, I don't know how you made it back from Europe, but you survived, and we're gonna, give you, a do-over. And basically, they cleaned everything out, and he had a do-over, and he lived a great life. He didn't always do what was perfect, but he lived a great life. At that time, I was managing a hotel at the beach. I lived in Virginia Beach. I loved my job, but I realized at that moment, something's got to happen with my dad because his parents had the same thing. They had heart disease and they had diabetes, and they didn't do very well with that. My grandfather had a massive heart attack at 65. I mean, so young. And my grandmother was a double amputee and blind from diabetes. So, you know, like, Dad, this isn't going to happen to you. We're going to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. And so I went back to school to be a dietitian. So that's my motivation. And I've been in my career now about 20 years, which I have loved every second of it. And when I have somebody new come in, I do think of them as a family member. How can I take care of them the best way? How would I want my dad to have been taken care of? And that's why I'm here. So let's give you some information on heart health and some information I had to remind myself of why certain foods can increase your risk for heart disease. Although it conflicts with the diabetes in that we want foods that don't raise blood sugar, but then there's a controversy in that, and that could increase your risk for heart disease, which is not good either. So we have to control both of them at the same time. But I'm going
Yes.
to give you some tips and tricks on how to do that.
Absolutely. When I was getting my education on diabetes and nutrition, the course called Nutrition for Diabetes and Cardiovascular Disease. So they
Mhm.
go hand in hand, and it's
Mhm.
very important to remember about this.
Absolutely. It really, really does. If you have one and you don't want to have the other, but if you have both of them, like my dad did, you got to take care of it right away.
Yes.
So the title today of our presentation is Your Fork, Your Future. How today's meals shape tomorrow's health. I loved it. Irina was able to give me that title, and I think it's well deserved for today's presentation. And Irina, could you see everything okay?
I can see it. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes, my grandmother, who was a double amputee, I was little, so this is from, my father telling me and his siblings telling me that my grandmother knew it was her fork. It was
Hmm.
her fork that caused that. And she was a minister. I mean, she had faith, but the one thing she couldn't give up was the food. And it was really, really hard for her. And I know a lot of you out there are suffering with that. And my dad suffered with that. He was not a perfect diabetic. And that's why I stepped in to almost force him into compliance in a sweet way, in a loving way, of course. 68% of adults, with diabetes can also die from heart disease because it's not diabetes that you die from, it's the complications from diabetes. And high blood sugar complicates heart health. And my grandfather, I told you that my uncle also suffered with that. Everybody really on my dad's side of the family brought this into my world. I suffer with this a little bit, in that in women who are postmenopausal, we have a change of our blood sugars. We also have a change of our heart health. And I was very surprised, of my heart health most recently in December of 2024. I never thought my LDL could be high because I'm part-time vegetarian and I do all of the things I'm supposed to do. But I built up some body fat from menopause, and that is predisposing me to the higher cholesterol. And you can be a vegetarian and have high cholesterol. It's not just about eating meat. So let's get into some of the details. So it really is the healthy fats. The healthy fats are in it for the win. That's what we have to wrap our mind around. That's what we have to remember. Although there are certain foods that are, no carbs and we want to eat all of those, they may not be the healthiest of fat, and that could increase your risk for heart disease. So, yes, something might control your blood sugars, but if it increases your risk for heart disease, I would definitely want you to make some changes. And I have some changes for you. I think this was supposed to say 2024, but the Mediterranean diet every single year is the winner of the best strategy for diabetes and heart disease. It works. You can imagine we've done tests. I mean, we've gone out and studied the people who live in the Mediterranean, in Greece and Italy, and this is what we find. Now, maybe not, I don't know about the modern times now, but this was in the past. When I was in school, I learned about this. So let's follow some of those principles. We don't have to follow all of them, but maybe you can try something new. If you've never tried heart healthy fats and eating in the Mediterranean style, this could be something you could change and start to discover new foods and new tastes. So it's an oil change, right? So when you change your oil in your car, it's because the oil kind of got sludgy and it wasn't working very well, and the pistons didn't fire and the motor didn't work as well. Same thing in our heart. Our heart is our motor, and we need an oil change. We want an oil that's going to make everything run smoothly, no clogs, no, issues with the heart. We want to bring in those fats into our diet that will make things run smoothly, not clog them up. So there are types of fasts I'm going to go over today, and then I'm going to add a couple other details, but very interesting information because the physiology is what we miss, I think, when we're just telling people, oh, don't eat this because, that raises the blood sugar and this doesn't, but we don't talk about the types of fat. And that's what I want you to learn today to be able to make some swaps in your diet. It's all about saturated fats. They are the most harmful. Saturated means solid. So these are most of our foods in our diet that are solid at room temperature. Certainly, meats are solid at room temperature. We can also include butter and shortening, um, you know, when you look at a steak to buy a steak, my mom always taught me when I was little, look for the most marbling because that's going to be the most juicy and delicious steak. And that's always kept with me. And the same thing for bacon. But you know what that marbling is? Saturated fat. So I wonder why my dad had heart disease. No, my dad did it to himself. Trust me. My mother prepare very healthy meals, but my dad was a business guy. He went out a lot on the road, and it wasn't just the saturated fat, it was the smoking and the other things that he was doing that caused his heart issues. But LDL, this is how I like you guys to remember. L for lousy. So saturated fats raise LDL, L for lousy and L for low. We want that to be low. So I apologize, I'm not putting the numbers in here, but it's an easy number to remember. 100 or lower. If you can look at your most recent lipid profile, which that's how it will be listed on your, if you have access to your labs, look at the lipid profile and look at LDL. Is it above 100? If it is, then maybe there are some things in this presentation that will work for you. So less than 100 is where we want this. LDL, saturated fats, raise cholesterol. This is going to blow your mind. I'm going to say it probably a few times, but let me just tell you what you've been told is wrong. Cholesterol in foods isn't the reason for the high LDL. So foods that have cholesterol in them can actually be some of the healthier foods. It's saturated fat in foods that raise cholesterol. If I'm telling you that for the first time, you can go look it up. But this is so much misinformation out there. I hope today I can clear that up. We can visualize saturated fat in your blood. We can see it. I've seen it. This one story I tell over and over again. I used to go to companies, big companies, and we do these health fairs and we draw their blood and we educate them on diabetes and heart disease. I love that job. And I am not kidding. I witnessed this with my own eyes. This gentleman that we drew blood from immediately was pink, and then it's separated, and you could see the saturated fat, the LDL cholesterol in his blood. It was the most amazing thing. I've never seen that again. But this gentleman was at severe risk of a heart attack. He didn't know it. He was an older guy, never went to the doctor. He said 20 years he hadn't been to the doctor. I can tell. Anyway, good story is he came to our classes. He went to the doctor right away. And 6 months later, his LDL cholesterol was absolutely perfect. And so he did everything that we've asked him to do. And he saved his life. So the one thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to actually read it verbatim because this is something that doesn't come out of my mouth on a daily basis. This is when in my education classes, I really keep it very basic and very minimal with, the words that everybody understands because I just have a very short time with people. And if I bring in all these different scientific words, they're going to just check out. I mean, I would check out too. I don't like to be spoken to that way. But I did want to give you the details of C-reactive protein. It is a lab. You need to look this up. If you've had that drawn, look at it. If you haven't had that drawn, get it done. Ask your doctor, I would like to know what my C-reactive protein is because this is one of the cornerstones of plaque formation in your arteries. This is what my dad suffered from. He had atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries. They literally pulled plaque out of his arteries. You can see it, it's visual. And so C-reactive protein is a good indicator how your heart health is without them having to go in and do some scopes. So that's what I want to read to you. What is C-reactive protein? Well, it binds to your arterial wall. So it's something that they can measure in the blood. And it makes the plaque actually grow faster. So not only a saturated fat diet, but now we have these high markers of C-reactive protein. A value over 2 is going to increase your risk of heart disease by 50%. A value over 3 is the most serious, very, very high risk of heart disease, a heart event like a heart attack. And you may not feel it. That's the problem. You don't feel this, but it could be there. So that's a good indicator of something that you want to look at. What causes the C-reactive proteins to be high? Well, back to the diabetes, high blood sugars. That's the one thing that can damage your arterial wall, and that will increase CRP. The other thing is a high saturated fat diet. Other ideas that could increase that risk for heart attack and also stroke, smoking, not being active, and smoking, not being active, and let's see, there's one more thing. Oh,
Sleeping.
not eating healthy fats. Yeah, so you CRP is something that I'm going to dig into a little bit more. I don't think I've ever had that drawn on myself, but I'm going to definitely look into that. And I would recommend that you guys look into that too. Is that something that you ever remember looking at with your husband, Irina?
Not at all. As in my case, we were not looking at anything. Everything was observed with his doctor, and I had no clue. And there was not, those portals at that time when you can
Right.
log in and look it up. So whatever doctor said and whatever he remembered to bring to me, that's what I knew. But I was not educated. So for me, that was blank information. The information you're giving us right now, it's very useful because um, it explains the numbers and why it is being measured and how it helps us to measure where we are in our health journey. Are we going in the right direction? Do we do the proper movements, or we need to make some adjustments and uh, to help ourselves? So thank you for sharing it. And no, to short answer, no, it was not something we were looking at.
So I saw, I don't know if it was on your page, Arena, the diabetes support group, but it might have been something I was watching online. But one of the people were showing them a video of ordering a triple burger at a restaurant in a lettuce wrap because he had diabetes. He's like, this is going to be great for my blood sugars. What he doesn't know is all of that saturated fat is going to increase the C-reactive protein, increases risk for heart disease and stroke. The high sugars, I mean, the sugars might be lower, but what exchange is that? Is that really a better exchange? It's not. And so when you see people just eating meats and butters and steaks, yes, their blood sugars are lower, but you're also creating another problem. This is the root cause of diabetes. We've got to keep our arteries clear, and we can do that if we know how. And I'm going to teach you how today.
Okay.
So we have an estimate of saturated fat. It's not going to be possible to 100% avoid it because it's in a lot of foods, even some healthier foods it's in. But we have a total 20 grams or less for men, men over, I guess, the height of 6 feet, 5 foot 11, 6 feet. And for women, less than 15 grams per day. But look at how quickly it adds up. So in meats, this is just 4 ounces. This is barely a little bit bigger than the size of your palm. So if you have this big steak, I mean, this is much different. But a ribeye would be the highest in saturated fat, and just a small portion is already 7 grams of saturated fat. Now, it's okay. You can have that every once in a while, but it's something that you're going to recognize that, if you're having this very frequently through the week or every month or 2 or 3 times a month, that maybe it's something you could just reduce to once a month. Spare ribs, which I enjoyed some spare ribs over Memorial Day weekend. They were delicious. My neighbor cooked them, and oh my gosh. But I haven't had spare ribs for years. I mean, it's probably the first time I've had those in a really, really long time. Those are foods that I avoid. But yeah, have them every once in a while, but I wouldn't make it on a weekly, grocery list. Compared to chicken, which is just zero point 0.4, not even a gram of saturated fat in 4 ounces. So that's where we're going towards. We're going towards those types of foods. And you've heard this before. This is not new. Eggs, again, are beat up. I mean, I still had doctors telling their patients only have one egg a day. You do not have to do that. You know why? Because eggs is a perfect vitamin with a bunch of protein in it. Yes, it has a little bit of saturated fat, zero point 0.3 grams. I mean, we can have a lot of eggs. It's okay. You can have more than one egg a day. You can have them every day if you like. What I do, I'll take one whole egg and then I'll add a half a cup of egg whites at the same time. Virtually fat-free, low in saturated fat, but it gives you a lot of volume, a lot of protein, and that's something we learned earlier in a couple presentations ago about blood sugar control. Seafood does have some saturated fat, but this is where we're going to find the healthy fats, and this is where you're going to find healing for that C-reactive protein. Monounsaturated fats we'll cover in just a second, but they're found in a lot of fish. So shrimp, another one that's beat up on a lot, well, it has a lot of cholesterol. That's okay. Cholesterol does not raise your cholesterol. Saturated fat raises your cholesterol. So this is another view. Have shrimp. Have it steamed. You know, certainly battering it and frying it is going to increase the saturated fat, and it's pretty great just all by itself. So steam it, enjoy it, have it with some cocktail sauce, have it on a salad, have it as an appetizer. It's the best appetizer you can have at a restaurant. Get the shrimp cocktail. Salmon, which has a little bit higher saturated fat, it is a fattier fish, but it lives in the cold, cold waters. And that fat is so good for our heart. And I think of it this way, those fish are in Alaska and they're swimming around, I don't know, with icebergs or ice. Anyway, they have to develop a fat that doesn't coagulate at a frigid temperature, a freezing temperature. In turn, that's good for our heart. That's the oil that we want. It prevents clogs. It's a great choice. We need to be eating more fish. Tuna is another great example, just zero point 0.4 grams of saturated fat. Way better than the other choices on the meat slide. Tilapia, there you go. Now, dairy, we have choices with dairy. We can reduce the fat in dairy. We don't have to go fat free, but we can reduce it from whole milk to a 1% milk. We're going to get a lot less saturated fat that way, but we're still getting the benefits of the dairy and the calcium and all those other additives that they add to milk. Butter, a tablespoon is 7 grams of saturated fat, half your daily intake. Can we make that better? Yeah, we can choose margarine, which is also controversial because, back in just 5, 10 years ago, we were worried about all the trans fats. Well, we've removed those from most of our products now, but, margarine still has some trans fats in it. So maybe olive oil is the better choice, which isn't listed here, but that could be a better choice too, or butter spray. Anything that's more liquidy is going to be better for your heart.
I'm
Cheese.
sorry for interruption here.
Mhm.
Every time when I look at the butter, because I love butter, Irish butter, just the best. I never use the tablespoon of butter. I take a little bit of it, I spread it thinly on my slice of bread, and that is not 7 grams of butter or fats or anything. So
That's right.
margarine or butter or whatever, if this is something that people use for cooking and it intended to be fully absorbed by the food, that's one thing. But when we're talking about spreading on a sandwich, I have to protect my Irish butter here.
Yes, and you are fine. You are fine to do that because you're doing it hopefully on 100% whole wheat bread because I'm going to talk about fiber too, and fiber helps to remove fat from the blood. And so it's a win-win. You maybe have avocado toast on
Yes.
one side and then butter on the other side, and you're good to go, Irina.
If I have avocado, I don't need butter. So this is a quick solution
Yes.
here.
You can have up to 15 grams of saturated fat a day. If you want to have it with butter, you are welcome to do
Yes.
that. Other things that we don't remember, don't realize have saturated fat are some plants. Coconut. Coconut. Now, back 10 years ago, that was the biggest thing. Everything has to be, coconut oil and cooking in coconut oil and baking in coconut oil. And as a dietitian, I'm like, no, that's the wrong. It is a plant, and we do know that there are some benefits from that, but it is a saturated fat. If you have coconut oil and you keep it on your shelf, it turns solid. So I was never a big fan of that. Now, if you want to have some coconut, sprinkled on your, I don't know, yogurt or oatmeal, that's fine. But, just a third of a cup is 17 grams of saturated fat. I think that if you have heart disease, it's something that you should be aware of.
Hmm.
Croissants and biscuits are so delicious because they're very flaky, and we get that flakiness from butter and shortening. Fine to have every once in a while, but I wouldn't have it every day as a bread. And I know people who say, I just have a croissant every day, with butter, with bacon and sausage. It's like, that might be too much. So maybe keep the croissant, but add some avocado at the same time.
Hmm.
Maybe have an egg white omelet on the croissant. So there's lots that you can do. Still keep your favorite foods, but maybe not an everyday thing. Biscuits and donuts, donuts are great every once in a while. We can have all of these foods. It's not that we have to eliminate them. We just have to pick the right time and place. So let's start talking about fats that are good for us. And one of those is polyunsaturated fat. This category of fat is where we find our omega 3s and our omega 6s, which are essential. We can't make those in our body, we have to eat them. So some people who don't eat the types of food here can take a supplement, an omega fat supplement, which would be recommended. And I think the doctors, everybody's recommending it. As you'll see, the research is pretty new on that. But if you go to any cardiologist and you're not on a fish oil supplement or some type of omega supplement, they're going to ask you to get on one. It is amazing. If you can eat the foods listed here are not the only list, but there's more. But basically, flax and sunflower oil, walnuts, fish, salmon, chia seeds, I heard somebody say, "Oh, chia seeds are bad for you." No, no, they're not. It's a seed, it's a fiber, and it has polyunsaturated fats. Tofu, soybeans, so my vegetarians out there, these are great choices. Polyunsaturated fats also lower triglyceride and LDL. So we want LDL to come down. We want triglycerides to come down. Triglycerides, if those are high, we want those under 150. Again, I apologize for not putting that number here. In my gentle way to explain triglycerides is unused energy. You have eaten the carbohydrates, you have eaten the calories. What your body can't use, it stores it as fat, and the form of that is in triglycerides. So when your triglycerides are high, it's an indication that maybe your blood sugars are also high, and also that you could be eating too many carbohydrates for your activity level. So that's another great way, another great lab to look at. It does improve for the diabetes side. It does improve your sensitivity to insulin, which is a good thing. It reduces inflammation. We're trying to get rid of that C-reactive protein. And so you're going to get that when you choose these foods. Probably my favorite thing on here, what I started eating, is roasted edamame. You see here the green edamame in the bowl, but the roasted edamame is so fun to snack on. You don't need just but a handful. You're going to get the polyunsaturated fats, you're going to get fiber, and you're going to get fullness. So this is very interesting. So just in the 1980s, I know that you guys remember this because most of everybody in Irina's group is probably over the age of 45. But Irina, you remember this, I remember this. And I think there's a lot of controversy around these studies now that we look back. They said, everybody get rid of the fat. Oh, the fat is terrible for your heart. So we got rid of everything. We started eating fat-free, you name it. If it said fat-free, we wanted it. And we are still in the mindset to do that. And I think this is what the new research is saying. We really do have to change. Fat makes you full. Fat is good. The types of fat is what they should have said. Hey, let's get rid of saturated fat. Let's do more mono and poly fat. But again, this is, with our lifetime, this research has been going on. And that's why my grandfather was never told, not to eat all the bacon and sausage every day. They weren't told back in those days because they just didn't know. And that's why my dad outlived his dad because he knew about that. But removing all the fat from our diet was the worst thing we could have done because we ate more carbs, we ate more fat-free foods, and we were hungry. So we ate more. Our weight went up. Our obesity, you can clearly see the line. Our weight went up right when this study came out. So there are some good things about fat. They make us full, and they do improve our heart health. It wasn't until the 90s, another decade later, that we finally started talking about healthy fats, unsaturated fats. 2000s, I mean, my daughter was born in 2003. That was just, 22 years ago. Then we started focusing on the fats that we get from omega-3 fish and omega-6s, nuts and seeds, fatty acids for not only diabetes, but heart health. So again, this is new research. I've, since been a dietitian since 1995, I knew this. I mean, they taught it to us in dietitian school, but it just wasn't mainstream. And then finally, this was just very, very recent, 2010. Before 2010, avocado was still listed as a bad fat, as too high in fat. It was on the bad list. Can you imagine? Everybody's doing avocado these days, and I'm so thankful. But that's when we finally had that turn like, okay, even though it has fat in it, like peanut butter and nuts and seeds and avocado, we're going to go ahead and put it back on the good list where it should rightly be. So healthy fats matter. Mono, mono, mono. Monounsaturated fats is the keystone for heart health. And it's all the things that we've been talking about. These fats specifically lowers LDL. It's the oil that we need in our heart to stop the clogging. It makes everything run smoother. So if you don't like everything on this list, that's okay, but pick something that you could actually try today, which could be, I want to give you a little bit more details. Raises HDL. I didn't talk about HDL yet, but HDL, H for healthy, H for high. We want that over 35, over 40 for women, over 35 for men. HDL is like a big empty sphere that is in your blood, and it loves to gather fat from your diet and take it away before it even gets a chance to become plaque on your arterial wall. So, monofat lowers LDL, raises HDL, reduces inflammation. We want all of that. Stops damage to the blood vessels, improves insulin sensitivity. This is the right direction. Olive oil, avocados, nuts and seeds, fish. We have a little bit of monofats and oils, and avocado oil is new on the list. Olive oil, it's all going to help you for the good. And if you're not eating a lot of these types of foods, I mean, there is a supplement you could take, the omega-3s, the omega, I would just take a one big omega fat supplement or at least the omega-3s for sure. Polyfats, we know, is going to come from the fish. That's the main category of the polyfats. We do love those, and walnuts. So have a handful of walnuts a day. Have a handful of almonds a day. Have fish 2 to 3 times a week. It's something we need to start working on. I love the tuna pouches now. They even have them flavored. I mean, that can work. That's a very inexpensive protein that you can start adding to your diet once a week, then try 2 to 3 times a week, add some chia seeds. We can get soybeans and Greek yogurt, and there's lots of ways that we can add these fats in. The first thing I didn't I wasn't going to add this actually to the presentation, but let's talk about fermented foods. It's something that is new that is also so heart healthy because our gut, if our gut is sick, our heart is not going, it's not doing well. So fermented foods is something that's new and we need to start including these into our diet. So not only healthy fats, but fermentation from foods like kombucha. You know, that's been kind of the new thing for the last 3 to 5 years. Everybody's drinking those kombucha drinks. That could be something you could try. What about sauerkraut? I didn't know sauerkraut and kimchi were so important. There's a drink that I often like to drink, which is kefir. It's a very thick, kind of like a yogurty taste, a little sour, but something like that added to a smoothie or just as, you know, just a little 4 to 6 ounces per day shot, that would be great. But I think most people are tapping into this because I see the whole grocery store is flooded with all those kombucha drinks. Have you ever tried that, Irina? Any of those kombucha drinks?
Yes, and you know the funny part is that kombucha, I call it kombucha.
Hmm.
This is the drink that my grandmother used to make. So back in Russia, it was the thing. Almost every
Yeah.
household, we had a, gallon size jar that would have this thing floating in it. This is this mushroom, how you call it, and we just add more tea in there and it will get fermented and then you pour it out in a cold it's a cold refreshing drink during the summertime and we just loved it. We did add because it was extremely sour, so we added a little bit of a sugar to it, but back in the days we did not use that much sugar. And a teaspoon of sugar on a glass of this kombucha drink was wonderful. And as I said, refreshing. We loved it. So when I found it here, finally, living here for years and in United States, and then now this kombucha is so popular. When I tried it for the first time, I was like, yes, that. This is what I was missing. So, yes, I know what you're talking about.
You know, that is really great. I love that story, Irina, because we knew what to do back in your grandmother's day, even in Russia. United States, I think maybe we did that here. I don't remember having that as a kid, but these are things that we know have worked, and now just the research is confirming that. And
Hmm.
so that was pretty brilliant of your grandmother to have that. And I don't know if that's just a Russian thing, but it certainly is becoming more
Almost
popular
every
now.
household had that. So it's
Yeah.
not just my grandmother. It's like common thing.
When we get our gut healthy, we're going to create something called short chain fatty acids, which reduces inflammation. This is all about that C reactive protein. We have got to reduce the inflammation to stop the plaque formation, to improve insulin resistance so our blood sugars come down. This is how you heal your body, not with a triple burger in a lettuce wrap. That's not how you heal your body. That is going to actually create more of a problem with heart health. So we have to get to the root. You always hear this. What is the root of diabetes? What is the root of heart disease? It's reducing the inflammation. So foods that we've just been talking about today are going to help you reduce inflammation, improve your heart health, improve your blood sugars because less inflammation means lower blood sugars. Few more tips here about just the newness of this research, and I'm pretty upset about it's taken this long for us to really tap into what Irina's grandma was doing with the kombucha. So we have to know that what we're seeing now is really just not a fad. It's something that needs to become permanent. We need to talk more about this. The FDA needs to talk more. We all need to talk, the dietitians, the cardiologists. We just need to talk more about healthy fats. Blood sugar control is great. We can control blood sugars just by eating meat, just by eating, fat, just by eating butter and bacon. But does that really make everything better? It doesn't. It doesn't. So we do have to change.
So just a quick interruption. So when we're talking about keto, which is all on like fat, 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 and I remember cooking for keto family when I was the cooking coach, they were refusing anything but fat, and the more grease is in the pan, the better, the happier they were. So when we look at this from the this today's presentation perspective, keto is not the best recommended solution, right?
That's right. It's the Mediterranean diet. But, you can choose healthy fats and healthy proteins
Mm-hmm.
and non-starchy vegetables that don't raise blood sugar. You can choose more of that. Absolutely. And a lot of the keto people are eating more broccoli and more cabbage, maybe more sauerkraut, more fermented foods. So I think that is helping to absolutely reduce the risk of heart disease and high cholesterol from all the saturated fat. As you can see, the research is still new. Maybe we're going to find out that the keto diet is the best choice. But right now, for blood sugar control, yes. For reversing diabetes and heart disease, no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's. Now, a lot of things happen with people on keto. They lose a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
Losing weight definitely reduces your risk for heart disease,
Yes.
lowers your blood sugar. So we do see that aspect of it, and that's amazing. That's great. Some people who have never been able to lose weight can do that on a keto diet. But is it sustainable? Is it something that you can keep for forever? Because
Yeah.
many of my patients are like, well, got my A1C down, and then they just went back to eating the way they were before. You're going to create another problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to happen over and over again. So bringing in healthy fats, bringing in healthy, lean proteins into the keto diet might be a good choice.
Yes.
I'm not saying they can't do it because it is a strategy. It is a solution for weight loss. We know that. But let's do it in a different way so you're healing and removing your continued risk of diabetes and heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where fiber comes in. I read a study once, and I don't know that I try to look and see if it was updated, but the average American would get 10 grams of fiber a day. And that's because we're going to restaurants and we're just eating quick and easy foods that we can just microwave or take out of a package. And we're not getting the fiber that we need. So the risk for digestive cancers in our culture is much higher compared to maybe a Latin culture who eats beans and lots of vegetables. And I don't know, in Russia, maybe that's something it's back in the day when it was just expensive, to get foods in a box and in a package, you had fresh foods
We
more
didn't have
frequently.
it. Back in the days, we just didn't have it, period.
Yeah. Yep. So fiber is a super food. It not only lowers blood sugar, it makes you full. It can bind fat in your arteries and take it away before it's even becoming plaque on the interior of your arteries, which is the cause of atherosclerosis and hardening of the arteries and at risk for heart attacks and strokes. So fiber is not only a great source of food, but there's some medical benefits. I mean, we can use food as medicine. And fiber, certainly, to lower cholesterol, improve blood sugars, we can do that. It binds bile acids made from cholesterol, which is the fat, the saturated fat. It reduces LDL. It improves gut health. It increases short chain fatty acids, which we just learned lowers inflammation of the C reactive proteins. So 25 to 35 grams a day, and it's not that hard to get it. So soluble fiber, this is the controversy. This is what I hear in, the Facebook groups and on other support groups. Oh, oatmeal's bad and nobody should have an apple because that has sugar in it and carrots are sugary and beans, oh, that raises the blood sugar. Yes, carbohydrates raise the blood sugar. That is absolutely normal. How can we get the blood sugars down after eating carbs is something that you can work on. Number one, don't sit, move around. Number two, you can have carbohydrates. You don't have to have a lot of them if that's something that drives your blood sugar up, but you can have some. You don't have to eliminate them from your diet. So all of these foods have the soluble fiber. So when you're eating oats and apples, yeah, that's a high carb meal. So we want to add some protein in there, maybe some nuts and seeds, which have natural healthy fats. That's going to help us a lot. Some chia seeds, that's going to be more fiber. So it all works together. We're not just eating a bowl of oatmeal. We're going to doctor it up a little bit to keep it blood sugar friendly, but it's also heart healthy. And that will trap the fat in our heart and take it away, or in our bloodstream and take it away before it gets to our heart or our arteries for clogging. So it's a win-win in my book. We have to have a variety of foods. We can't just beat up on one category and say you can't have that. You can. You can have most fruits and vegetables on this meal plan, and grains and starches and desserts and, spare ribs sometimes. We can have all of that. It's just, what is your medical condition? What do you have to work on to get healthy and lead a longer quality of life? That's what it's all about. Longer quality of life. Insoluble fiber is a scrub brush for your intestine. I mean, that works so good. Broccoli is on every superfood list. You look at what is the top 10, what are the top three, what are the best foods for anti-cancer, heart disease. It's always going to be broccoli. So broccoli is just the run of the mill. If you're eating broccoli every day or several times a week, then you're doing great. Wild rice, I think we need to get back to that. Wild rice has not been processed so heavily like a white rice or even a brown rice is. So try to get maybe the wild rice, maybe include some wild rice in the white rice, just bringing in that fiber that doesn't absorb into your blood vessel, but it helps create all of the work that we need in our digestion to get out all the gunk. I mean, if we're not eating fiber, we're not getting out all the gunk that could cause cancer, gut imbalance, bacteria, all of those. So here are some plates. Yeah, we can include a bunch of foods. We can have some chicken, and it doesn't look like it's fried chicken. It looks like it's oven roasted. We got broccoli on there. Um, I don't know what's underneath of that, but
Something
that's
orange. It may be sweet potato.
maybe a sweet potato. Yep. So we're getting some fiber from sweet potato, some antioxidants. We get our carbs from the sweet potato. We have our lean protein from the chicken, and we have our beautiful broccoli for not only soluble but insoluble fiber. Most fruits and vegetables have both soluble and insoluble. So if you're just eating an apple, you're doing great. Then we want to bring in those healthy fats to help us reduce that inflammation from salmon and avocado. On here we have white rice, but we could have maybe taken a half a cup of white rice, half a cup of wild rice, and blended them together to even increase the fiber even more. And underneath of that are some dark leafy greens, that's good any day. Fruits and vegetables heal your body. If you just eat fruits, that's probably not a good choice. You want to combine the foods to get the best results. How can we use beans? Or we can make a chili. How can we bring in healthy fats? We can add avocado. Beans is a power food. It's a protein, it's a fiber. It is soluble and insoluble at the same time. It helps with our gut, it helps everything. Yeah, so these are things that we can have some chips with that. I mean, that's not on the good list, but that's okay because we have balanced everything out. Get another pitcher of broccoli. And so this is really just looking at your food. Do you have any fruit today? Did you have any fruit yesterday? If the answer is no, you got to start eating fruit. I know online people will batter you about you can't have fruit because of the sugar, but I'm telling you, they're not giving you the truth. Fruit has carbs, bread has carbs, potato has carbs, rice has carbs. The powerful part is the fruit has all those anti-inflammatory ingredients. We have soluble fiber, we have insoluble fiber. It tastes sweet. Yes, it's a carb. It's going to raise the blood sugars, but that's where I was talking a couple of presentations ago about a balanced plate. We don't want to just have a whole plate of fruit. We want to have fruit with a protein, with some veggies, for the balanced plate. Look up the plate method or look up the presentations we've done in the past. But
Yes,
this,
for anybody
yep.
who is curious where you could look it up, if you go on YouTube on channels called Smart Move 360, and you just look at the lists, playlists, there is a playlist called Caregivers One or Diabetes 101 for Caregivers, and all these presentations are stored there. So
Mhm.
YouTube, Smart Move 360, and Diabetes 101 for Caregivers. This is your path, and honestly, very informative, very useful information that Kim presented us with.
So enjoy your fruit. Have it with the walnuts for the increased polyunsaturated fats. Have it with some cottage cheese for some protein. Have it as part of a meal. Maybe you have salmon and broccoli, and fruit is the carbohydrate for the meal. That's how you have it. It's part of the balance of the plate, but so good for you. Don't avoid it. I guess this week this happened. This lady's like, oh gosh, I was at this cookout for Memorial Day and I really wanted some watermelon, but I didn't have any because I heard it had sugar in it. That just breaks my heart. I mean, in a million pieces. So if somebody is telling you you can't have fruit because it has sugar in it, you should not be listening to people like that. Look it up. You can ask me questions on the platform. If I don't see it, Irina will get in touch with me. So please enjoy your fruit as part of a balanced meal.
Just don't start your balanced meal with the bowl of fruit. Have some introduction with the food that your body also needs, such as proteins and fats, and then wrap it up with a beautiful bowl of colorful fruits, which is, I think, a great thing to do.
Irina brings a very good point because we do a lot of work on how to control the after meal blood sugar. And that is what she said, increasing your protein food first, increasing your veggies first that have the high amount of fiber first. Because when you put that in your body first into your stomach, everything else that comes after that is going to be slowed down. The digestion is going to be much slower. So the rise of blood sugar is not as high. And that's the whole point. It's part of a balanced plate. But yes, Arena's recommendation is absolutely going to work for you if you can try that.
I am just repeating after Kim. I'm listening to her presentations.
Because don't you hear on the platform Arena that I had some strawberries and my blood sugar went up, so I guess I can't have strawberries anymore. No, you can have the strawberries. Let's just work it into a meal where you got some protein and veggies at the same time.
Well, the Facebook group Diabetes 101 for beginners, the key word here is beginners. There is a lot of people who just afraid of word sugar and carbs, and when they see that, when they read the charts and they see that, they are scared of it. And it's understandable. You don't know how it works. So that's why these classes, these crash courses that we are offering are, in my opinion, very good source of information to get more information, and it is, I think it's a great way how Kim is presenting it when it's the language that we understand, the examples that we can relate to, the colorful pictures, and when this all combined, we digest this information much easier and it stays with us and we start begin to understand what we are doing. And that's, I think that's the thing. And if anyone is listening to this today and thinks that you can provide, like, give this information to somebody else, share the link, invite them to our Facebook group or these meetings, because we are dedicated to help people to live longer, better. So that's my um, supporting word.
I love it. That is, yeah, that's a great, great reminder. Please share this to anybody you think it will help. So when I look at this picture, I just see medicine. I see natural medicine. If a food looks like it does in nature on your plate, that is the best choice. You can cook it, you can boil it, you can bake it, you can stir fry it if that's what you want. But the food that is on this picture and in the fruit picture are just amazing foods that will heal you. This is the root cause of diabetes. We're not getting rid of the fat that has accumulated in our cells, but fiber will do that. These fruits and vegetables will do that. We're not getting rid of that inflammation that the saturated fat is causing. We're not adding enough fiber. We're not adding enough nutrition to our diet. So when it comes to vegetables, the ones that are specific, non-starchy, you can look that up. Non-starchy vegetables specifically, we want to increase that a cup to 2 cups every single meal. So if you've not had broccoli or you've not had green beans, you've not had celery or cabbage recently, maybe that's something you could do today. Just try it. Start small and work your way up to having. I have eggs and I might have a sliced tomato, or as I'm making the eggs, I might be eating 5 or 6 baby carrots. I mean, there's a lot that you can do to just bring it in, not even with the meal, but you can eat it as you're prepping your food. Oftentimes, I'll just eat raw veggies as I'm driving home from work. I mean, that's a 45-minute drive, and I can get some veggies in that way. And I pack them, the night before. You got to just have it. And that really helps me not stop off somewhere because I'm super, super hungry. So there's many ways you can bring these into your diet. It is healing, and your cholesterol panel will be lower, your C-reactive protein will be lower, your inflammation is lower, you're healing your body. The strategy of just to avoid a high blood sugar is not healing your body.
Can I add a little bit more to here?
Yes.
As a cooking consultant, a cooking coach in the past, I learned quite a bit about nutrition. And one thing I know that a lot of nutrients are being destroyed if we cook something for way too long on a higher temperature. So if you are cooking, and sometimes um, our bodies cannot take in the uncooked vegetables. It's just the same gastroparesis problem that
Yes.
sometimes people with diabetes have. So we got to cook it, but
Yeah.
the challenge is to do not overcook it. So when you see that your vegetable that you're cooking is the bright colors, even brighter than it was before you started cooking, that's the stage when it has everything um, available to you and working and activated. But if suddenly your veg is becoming very pale and it's hard to understand, is it the celery or it's the onion or what is that piece that I'm holding on my fork, it actually means that fiber is still there in a very mushy way, but the taste, the flavor, the vitamins, everything is gone with the in the broth. So my just recommendation: don't overcook your vegetables when you cook them. This is not helping when you are paying high dollars for organic vegetables and then cook them to death. Uh, be generous to this. Let them live and do their work.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's right. Yeah, some of the cooking methods are not as great, but a carrot with ranch dressing on it is still a carrot. So go ahead. Just however you can get it in the kids, however you can get it in yourself, it's still going to be that vegetable that's going to help.
Yes.
And it's just all about balance. yes, have the spare ribs, have the burger, have all of those things, but let's bring in those healthy fats. It's not that you have to remove a bunch, but let's make room for the monounsaturated fats, the fish, for the polyunsaturated fats. The oils, cooking with olive oil instead of corn oil could be a good switch that you could make. Have the spare ribs, but have it with some broccoli and a salad. That could balance it out. Enjoy, the steak, but maybe the carb at that meal is a fruit for the extra fiber. Have fish 2 to 3 times a week. Try to find different ways to cook that. I mean, I just cook mine in the air fryer. It's really, really easy. So, looking at cooking videos and maybe people's recommendations on the platform, there's lots of ways that we can balance what we're eating, but bringing in the things that we talked about today is going to lower inflammation. It's going to lower your LDL, which reduces plaque on the artery walls, which improves your not only your heart health, but also your diabetes because it sensitizes insulin. That's what we want. We want insulin to work better and faster. So it's just a recommendation. The Mediterranean diet, this is what the Mediterranean diet is, what we just talked about. High fiber, high monounsaturated fats, and low saturated fats. So go back through and maybe pick out some things that you can try today. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on Irina's platform, which is Diabetes 101 for Beginners or 101 Diabetes for Beginners.
Diabetes 101 for beginners, that's
And,
correct.
and I'm on social media, Facebook and Instagram primarily, if you want to send me a message.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. And I wanted to emphasize the importance of everything you said, and just little thing. Mediterranean is my favorite cuisine. I love everything, the spices that they're using, the ways of cooking. So for me, this is kind of like every time I hear that this is the healthiest way, like, yes,
Mhm.
I got it. Something that very often we can hear people saying that they avoid of eating everything white, like, and that's what doctor says, and that's what I would say for years. Everything white, pasta, bread, potatoes, rice. What would you say? This is something that going through these classes with you and reading more information, plus more information available, because as you said, in 1980s, fats were the cause of all the disease, and that's when this the bomb exploded, when all the diseases started developing, and cardiovascular disease and diabetes and many other gut related diseases, because we stopped using healthy fats and fats in general, and started emphasizing the importance of low fat, and all these details. I just don't want to go into many details, because when you take out the fat, you have to make it tasty, right? So we add sugar, so everything has sugar.
Mhm.
So just a reminder, everybody, when you go grocery shopping, that was our last talk when we last month were talking about the reading labels. When you go grocery shopping and you read the labels and it says low fat, immediately look what do they have to compensate that with. It's most likely will be some sugar or some form of sugar added, and it doesn't have to have the name sugar. It could be some very complicated word, but there's like 100 plus names for the sugar, and just be careful and mindful when you're selecting. You make your choices, of course, but pasta, um, the potatoes, the breads. What would you say about this? These are not fatty foods, but they're also on the red list for every diabetic recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, I think the doctors don't have a lot of time with their patients, so like just cut out everything white. It's just across the board what you can do. But Then what about cauliflower? What about cabbage? What about all those other foods? So yeah, we can upgrade our bread. Absolutely. You can, but a potato is white. I mean, there's great value of vitamins and minerals and soluble fiber from a baked potato. Now, my mom, who's in the olden days, she likes those little packages of the powdery potatoes that you just add some milk
Oh,
to. Let's just get the one that looks like it does in nature on your plate. Let's get the actual baked potato with the skin on it, cut it in half. It's a carbohydrate. We want some, but we don't want all of it. And the sweet potato, well, that's not white, but absolutely, cauliflower and other foods are in that list. And we can still have white rice. We're going to integrate in it maybe some edamame beans to increase the protein, increase the healthy fats. Maybe we can add in a salad to that and some fish, so we can still have the white rice and the white bread, but what can we bring around it that's going to support it and make it more nutritious? That's how I would take on that. Stop everything white.
okay. All right. So, something I wanted to just was listening to you, and I realized. So, we call these sessions Diabetes 101 for caregivers. And in most cases, caregivers are the ones who are helping in the kitchen, right? So, this is why it's so important to have those conversations. And I appreciate, Kim, you putting them together every time. So this is great. We are experiencing this latest research that she is finding, and this is a great thing for us, great benefit for us. But in addition to kitchen, our caregivers, they also do the shopping. They also do some support, and this is kind of smooth transition to our talk on about emotional aspects of diabetes, because this is something that we as caregivers need some education as well. I know I probably would be better caregiver if I had this knowledge when I was helping my husband to manage his diagnosis, but I was not informed, and therefore I didn't do what my best job could be as a caregiver. I wanted to bring up this little slide here so we could talk about the details on it. Okay, this one. So, no, that's not the slide I was talking about. Where is my here? Emotional aspects. And when we're talking about it, uh, I remember myself when I learned that my husband has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He is in what is this? ICU
Mhm.
in one city, in one side of the country. I am at home with babies in another side of the country. I had a lot of time to think about what our life will be now, because I had nothing to bring, like information wise, to the family. He had even less of it. He was living very crazy life. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I was really, really concerned about our life in the future. And this is something that we got to remember. This is normal. I learned it now, that this is normal to be scared. This is normal to be upset about the food that you used to have on a regular basis every day. This is normal to be angry and ashamed and frustrated, because this is new territory. The goal is, don't stay on this territory for too long. Give yourself time as a caregiver to grieve your past life, to be sad, to be upset, frustrated, angry, all this, but you don't have to stay there. So let's look what is coming next. And in the future, obviously, There are some people who said, this is your problem. You deal with this. I am not giving up anything I've done in my life. Well, we just listened to presentation from Kim, and it just means that we are signing up for the cohort who will enter the diabetic world uh, soon after. Because if that lifestyle, if that table choices, menu choices brought your partner to this diagnosis, you just the next one in life, in line. So let's make it a change for the whole family, protect our kids, educate ourselves, educate our other family members, and just switch slowly but surely, step by step, see what is sustainable for your lifestyle. Because for somebody, going to gym every day is something that they can do and happy and will enjoy it. And for somebody, this is a challenge. It's a something that they have to fight every day. But go and take your dog for a walk, for a little longer walk, not to the mailbox, but to the, last house on a street and then come back. It will increase the physical activity. It will make a change. And after that change, look around. If you are fine with that, if this is sustainable, see what else you can do. And maybe adding the glass of water. I just learned yesterday I have to drink half a gallon of water every day for my personal health challenges, which is going to be a challenge probably because I'm not very consistent with the number of glasses of water I'm drinking. But see what is possible in your family and be a team member, because unfortunately, diabetes is something that you have to be mindful forever. It could be in remission and not affect the way how you feel, and you could eat a lot of stuff, but you got to remember how to eat that lot of stuff. If your blood sugar is under control, you could have more varieties than in other situation when your blood sugar is, or your loved ones blood sugar is not that much under control yet. So work towards getting in charge, helping those people to get in charge, because it's not your body who is going through this. So trust them to know what they're doing and show the support so they will trust you, that you are not abusing their trust. Because this is a very delicate situation when people who you thought you understand and they all of a sudden don't trust you. They think you're bullying them. They think that you are not believing them. And I know it because I lived through it. And probably I wasn't that understanding, because for me it was easy. No bread, no sweat. I have no problem to take away the bread from my refrigerator, countertop, anywhere. I don't need it. No pasta, no problem. I'm not attached to pasta. I like potato more, but I'm fine with changing to just broccolis as a side dish. Not so much for my husband, not so much for my kids who were raised by him, with him, but this was his best time in the kitchen, so he loved to cook, and he would cook what his Italian heritage is calling for. So being more patient, being more understanding, allowing people to make mistakes. Fortunately, diabetes is not the heart attack. So heart attack can kill on the spot. Diabetes will be damaging your health slowly and over the course of time if you don't pay attention to it. So if the person made a mistake or made the wrong choice and their blood test showed it, you make good conclusion like, okay, let's wait for a while and Don't use that choice for some time, or maybe change the order in which we eating this potato, or maybe a little bit of ice cream, or whatever it is. So my just call to everyone who is helping someone with diabetes, please be patient. Please allow for mistakes. We are all human. There is no ideal person. Even ideal persons make mistakes once in a while. And very important, show the support in the way it is asked for. If somebody said, I don't need your scientific research. I just want you to listen to me and maybe go with me for a walk and listen to my frustrations. Do that. Give it to them because this shows that you are listening. And when you are listening, they trust you. And this is the best way to support, to gain the trust and work together the team. So this is my talk that I really would love every caregiver to keep in mind when you are working to with your loved ones. Kim, if you have anything to add to it, please do, because now we are also going to talk a little bit about how we can support, and then we'll take questions and if there will be any.
So, I 100% agree with you, Irina. You have to support. You can't take, the ironclad, position with somebody with diabetes who you're caring for. With my dad, it was he would go to Bojangles and get biscuits and gravy every once in a while because that's what he just loved. I mean, I didn't say, "Oh my God, Dad, I can't believe you did that. That's so terrible." I'd never criticize him for what he ate. But I did educate my mom and helped her to create these beautiful meals that will add fiber, that will add healthy fats, that will help to almost get rid of some of the fat from the biscuits and gravy he had in the morning. But he loved food, just like Irina's husband loved to cook. He loved food. And if I told him he couldn't have something, I mean, he would hide from me. He wouldn't, I mean, he couldn't hide from me because I had his password. I knew how to get into his, the doctor's notes. I knew all of that. So he couldn't really hide from me, but I didn't want to create a tense atmosphere in our relationship. I loved my dad. I respected my dad. I was around my dad a lot, and I didn't want our relationship to suffer. So I was there as a support, and he complied, as much as he could, but then there were times that he didn't comply, and that's okay. But you don't beat up on him or tell them they're a terrible person. You just say, let's just have some broccoli tonight and fix everything.
Kim, for how long he been diagnosed before he passed away?
31 years,
31 years. So he was how old at that time?
81 when he passed away.
So here we go. When people get diagnosed, now it's late, early and early in life, and I see in our Facebook group that people at 30, at 38 get
Right,
those diagnoses, and they're afraid to go blind, to lose limbs,
that's
to
right.
die early. It doesn't have to be. Well,
Yeah,
knowing that you have this diagnosis does not, it's not your sentence that you have few years to live. It's for you, it's empowering information.
yes,
So you know that you have to be careful about
yep,
this, you have to be careful about that. And when you are careful, when you are knowledgeable, when you actually recognize the lows in blood sugar, you could do something meaningful about it, not just take the nitroglycerin and expect everything to fix, but actually
that's
maybe you
right.
need that glass of orange juice, the one that you're trying to avoid most of the days. So this is something that is empowering, and you can measure it right away with the finger prick. No cardio, person with the cardio disease can check it like that. They could check the blood pressure, but that's about it. You could check the blood sugar and know where you are. Is it high?
Hmm.
Is it low? Are you
Yeah,
okay? And if everything is fine, then maybe it's time to check your blood pressure and see maybe it's your heart or maybe this is your asthma or some other
Mhm.
challenge that your body might have.
Yeah,
So yes, that's not uh, disheartening and not disarming. The information that you have this diagnosis is actually empowering you to be more in control and know that you can regulate and control it.
that's right. Yep. It's a balance. Everything is just a balance. The last slide that I showed was a balance of everything. You have to, but you have to know that your loved ones are important people that you want to keep in your life and to be gentle with them as a caregiver, and but provide them that support that they need, the building blocks that they need.
Absolutely. So talking about support, what kind of assistance can be, and every family dynamic, every relationships dynamics are different, and I don't want to say this is the only ways because there are not only two adults, but there are sometimes children involved. Wait, this is wrong. I didn't mean that. Children involved, and we sometimes need to explain children why we choose today instead of a family trip to Brewster's to go and maybe to go to the movie and enjoy some other activities in the park. But let's see what we can do. First of all, ask, and it's most important, ask your person what kind of help they need. They will give you something one today, but then after that, as life goes on, they may come up, oh, you know what? You ask me how you can help me. This is what would be great if you will do it. So they will ask you more as long as you're staying open and helpful. That's one thing. For those who have diabetes and don't know how to talk with your caregivers, because I know that our presentations are being watched by both sides, please don't hide what you feel from your caregivers. If your person is really wanting to help, don't play the macho that you can handle everything. Sometimes it's okay to feel weak. Some to feel weak and to say that you don't feel well, sometimes it's a sign of strength, not the weakness. So this is one thing. The second thing, share what you need. Share, especially if they're asking. This is so important, the two-way communication, because caregiver like myself, I was trying to help to the best of my abilities. Unfortunately, my husband was not sharing that much. Sometimes he would, but it would be more in the form that I will bring him information. He may read it and may agree with that, and we could make a pact like, okay, so we will do this or we will not do that. That's something we had to come creative ways of agreement. But not everybody's family dynamic goes that way. And if you have diabetes and you want your caregiver to help you in a specific way, say it the way how you want it to be helped. That will be your show the trust and they will know what is expected because two-way communication is extremely important. Kim, anything to that?
Yes, I think this is what's really tough. The conversations that can get heated, and the person with diabetes feeling very defensive and lashing out at the person that's just trying to help them. I know that that can get complicated. You have to be in it for the long haul. You almost have to build up a bit of a protection against your heart that this is somebody with a condition that they're afraid of that can eventually take their life if they don't do something about it. So it's a very scary position to be in, and understanding that and knowing that just speaking very kindly and gentle with love and support and pick out something right. I mean, I loved when I would go into my dad's house. I just walk in, I don't knock in my dad's house, and I'd hear rufflings in the TV room, and he'd be ruffling up some potato chips and hiding it in his chair so I wouldn't see it. and don't mentioning that, but providing, making the person that you care give, with some food that will improve their health. Not always catching them doing something wrong, but catching them doing something right. Like,
That, yes.
wow, I saw that you had a 20-minute walk with the dog today instead of a 10-minute walk. That's really great. Hey, I saw you snacking on some veggies today instead of, the chips. That's really great. So catching them doing something right, and that will improve your relationship by mountains. And they're so proud of themselves, they're going to keep doing that behavior.
Absolutely. Yes, this is so important. So what we're looking here, it's a maintain a non-judgmental attitude, uh, pressure them that you are part of their team, you're not an enemy, you are here to support and help, and sometimes stay away because this is also sometimes important. And but how we can help grocery shopping, maybe your person is the person who is very busy and you are the one who um, doing all the grocery shopping. Try to bring home less of a junk food because and we all know it, if it is in the house we find it, and it's something that really it will be calling you them from the pantry. So don't bring those chips to the house or those little M&M's packets, anything like this. They are not to treat yourself. Treat yourself with something else. I don't know. It's important to find other ways what brings you pleasure, right? Sometimes prepping meals and prepping not just the dinner time and have it for the dinner, but also prepping something for the future. So it will be fast, easy to throw together, or maybe take to work already prepped packages, which is great. Um, I know that, say, my mother, she would always say, I don't like to walk outside by myself, and nobody goes with me, and that's why I'm staying at home. It's like, oh no. Uh, First of all, when I'm visiting, we could always go for a walk or something. But in addition, you have a lot of friends in the place where you live, and maybe they have the same attitude. I don't like to go for a walk by myself. Call your friends and say, hey, let's go for a walk. And it doesn't have to be all the time the same friend. It could be different friends, but be proactive and have walking buddies. And for if you live in the same household, be that walking body or maybe gardening, because any kind of physical activities. Let's go whack some weeds together. Let's go, do some raking, whatever it needs to be done. Just include yourself into this activity. Not like you have to go for your walk. For some people it works, but majority of them don't want to hear that. I don't like to hear from anyone telling me what I have to do. I am the person who is in charge. Reminder is good. If I committed to something in front of someone, then I feel already accountable and well, well, somebody's watching me. So I have to, it's my pride to keep my word, right? Um, Very often, people who have this diagnosis, again, it's not the wound that is constantly uh, hurting. It's not the eye that does not see or tooth that hurts all the time. And because of this, there is no consistent reminder about doctor's visit. Help them to schedule those doctor's visits. Set up the reminders on the phone, on the email, on the calendar in the refrigerator, everywhere you can, so people see those reminders and they actually I know that before we go to the doctor, we're always trying to eat a little bit healthy because our blood work will be done, and maybe take a little longer sleep before the visit tomorrow. So when those reminders are all over the place, they are also reminding them to be more diligent with their choices that they do, and do what they need to do instead of what they want to do. Uh, so this is organizing, attending medical appointments. If you can, it would be wonderful if you can go to doctor's appointments together. As I said in the very beginning, sometimes they don't remember, sometimes they don't want to bring it up, sometimes they think that this is not important. Excuse me. But whatever doctor said in response, you will not know. They are not the doctors. So go to the doctor's office. Kim, please continue because I have to clear my throat.
Yes, my I the endocrinologist that my dad went to was in the same building very close to where I worked at the diabetes center. So I usually didn't tell my dad. I mean, I didn't go to every appointment, but if I didn't have a patient, I had a cancellation, or I just had a little break, I would run over there and be in the office waiting for him when he got there. He'd be like, "Oh, you're here." I'm like, "Hey, Dad, just want to see how you're doing." And I did love going to those endocrinology appointments with him because I'd never seen my dad get a test before on his neuropathy. And I was in tears. This was something I had never experienced with him before. And when the doctor was going through, and he couldn't see what the doctor was doing, I could. And my dad didn't react to any of the pokes on his toes. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize his neuropathy was so bad. It made me a little upset because maybe I could have done something better, different, to make that improve. But he had a really, really hard time walking in the end. And again, he wasn't 100% compliant. His blood sugars were not always good. The last 5 years they were pretty bad because he didn't want to do it anymore. And we tried to do whatever we could for him, but ultimately it's his choice. You can't force them into compliance. You can support them, you can grocery shop, you can go and you can do all the appointments with them and encourage them to do something, but you can't force people. It's a true self decision. You want to encourage them and say, I'd love to go on more walks with you. Lower blood sugars will make your feet feel better. There's a lot, but again, we are all our own worst enemies sometimes. But my dad did good for a long time, but oh, it just broke my heart. So things like that, he would have never told my mom that. He would have never told me that. So that's why when Irina says you really do need to go to those appointments, and don't always just tell on them, but just be there as a listener too. You don't have to,
Take
tell
notes.
for everything.
Yeah.
Take notes.
Yes. And because sometimes I do remember those visits for the last 2 years of my husband's life, I was the one who would be organizing those visits, going to those visits, and he was perfectly fine talking. So he would say, yes, everything is fine, everything under control. And then I say, hold on, but 2 days ago you had this. Um, and we had a question because another day we did this and he had this reaction. Is it anyhow related to diabetes and we can improve it? And he was like, yes, that. This is why I bring her with me. So it was like his initiative, but I am fine with that. Um, One thing that I wanted to bring up before we go to Q&As is caregivers. You are human. You are not super people, and you have also your own emotions. You also have your physical body that needs care. So I wanted to remind you that this is extremely important to take care of yourself as well. While your person with diabetes is being watched by doctors, by nurses, by other healthcare providers, by you, you are not being watched. You are just the person who is always there. And to be that person who is always there, you have to take care of yourself. Make sure that you eat well. And by the way, whatever your person is eating is healthy and it's good for you as well. And they will actually more likely to eat that if you join them for those meals. Cooking two different diets, it's crazy. It takes a lot of time. It takes much more time to clean up. And it also enticing the person who has diabetes to kind of be jealous and let me steal this French fry from your plate. Let me grab that piece of hamburger that you're eating. This is not the support. This is kind of like poking your finger in a person's face and saying, "You got it. You put yourself in this situation, and I can enjoy what I always had." Don't do that. Don't separate yourself from them and make your life easier. If you are cooking, cook what you both can eat. If you're going for the exercise, invite your person to go with you. It could be a walk, it could be a trip to gym, to pool, to whatever. Invite them, don't force them, but you need those activities as well. You need that movement. You need to sleep. Make sure that you go to bed in reasonable hour and get appropriate number of hours of rest. Because to be able to serve others, you have to be in a good condition. It's like an airplane. Remember this, when anything happens and the oxygen masks drop, put first one on yourself. This is the only way you will be able to help others. So you got to take care of yourself to be able to take care of others. And that's my last word for in this part on the slide. And if Kim, you have anything to add to that, please do.
It is just such a it's a topic that's so dear to my heart, and I know it's dear to your heart too, Irina. Just the information that I presented today on healthy fats and bringing in that maybe that new term you haven't heard before on C-reactive protein, we have to improve that. We have to lower that because that's inflammation. It can happen for a variety of reasons, but there are some food remedies that you can change, that you can start adding today, even a little bit at a time, to everybody's meals, yourself included, because you're also at risk for conditions that if you're not paying attention to yourself, like Irina said, and taking care of yourself and prioritizing self-care, you could suddenly go, "Oh, I didn't know I had a high cholesterol. I didn't know my blood pressure was high. I'm just finding that out now." You've been caring for this person for years, but you didn't care for yourself. And you do have to absolutely pay attention to that. I'll bring up a story about it's what's good for your person with diabetes or heart disease is good for the whole family. It breaks my heart when I sometimes have young kids or teenagers, being diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and the parent is unwilling to change the diet for the entire family. And they single out that person like, well, it's his fault, because he got the diabetes, we all have to eat like this. And it's like, breaks my heart for that child. And again, I have to keep my composure when I'm in office, but that is the wrong attitude. If it affects your family member, it affects everybody. Everybody changed for my dad. When he came over to my house, I made sure if it was a party that there were foods that I know that were great for him and everybody else. Yes, we still had cake at a birthday, and that is okay. You can still do that. It's once in a while, it's not every day. But I would encourage him to eat more meat, more veggies, and save the cake as the carb for the meal. It worked out. Everybody was happy and enjoyed. So you prepare those things that you need for the entire family that is going to keep your loved one healthy, low blood sugar, lower cholesterol. I mean, there's so much that the family unit can be a part of. Get the kids involved. We're chopping vegetables. We're making new recipes, and the kids can pick out a new vegetable that they want to try this week or a fruit that they haven't had before. So get the whole family involved. It will make that person with diabetes feel like I'm not a burden. I'm
Yes.
actually helping. This condition I have is actually improving everybody's health, and that's how I like to look at it. Because diabetes is just the reason to make things better. It makes your life better. It makes your longevity better. My dad didn't have amputations. He wasn't blind by the time he passed away. It was more from the heart damage from the years of smoking, honestly, that really took his life. And yeah, so it's for the good. You get a condition, you're like, I can do this. Food, I mean, not we can't say that for everything, right? Cancer, we can't say that for always. But diabetes, there is a solution.
Definitely. This is one of the things that I always like to bring up about the this situation. Fortunately, diabetes is something that we can take control over compared
Mhm.
to many other diagnoses. So let's take this control. It's given to us. Let's take it and use it, and instead of just like, why am I?
Hmm.
Why I have to do this?
Right.
Why this happening to me? That part goes while you're grieving in the beginning when you just got this information, but you don't have to stay. You should not stay in this stage for the rest of your life. This is not something that supposed to put you down every time. It has to be something that will uplift you because you know that you're doing everything good. And we all know that sugar, unfortunately, is everywhere, and because of this, it's killing not just nations, it's a humanity because people change with their health, the the way how people react, the way how people talk. It's all is being affected by our health conditions. So let's help humanity to survive and get better. Um, I don't see the questions in the chat. I think we had covered majority for today. One more last thing I wanted to say that I started this tiny little private group. It's called Diabetes 101 for caregivers. And if anyone wants to join it, it's private, it's closed. It's specifically for people with diabetes who care for those with diabetes to share their concerns. So we will not hurt the ones who have diabetes, so they don't will not feel that they are the burden, because as caregivers we have our own challenges, and sometimes we just need the place to go and share and find someone who has the same problem or the same question and be understood, because this is the we are human, we are social creatures. So Diabetes 101 for caregivers. This is private group. You have to apply, and I will look and bring you in. We don't have much activities in there because unfortunately caregivers are very busy taking care of others and not taking care of their own needs. And that's um, the thing that we have to just deal, but it's available. Um, what else? Q&As, the last chance. Type it in the chat or sound it.
But you
Uh,
said that even if they watch this as they're watching it after we do the live, that they can
yes,
still add their questions. So definitely
yes,
still add the questions, and then Irina will go through and let me know if there's something that you'd like me to answer, or she
yes,
did such a great job on the caregiving. I mean, that's just so invaluable, and we've lived it, so we know what you guys need.
yes, yes. It doesn't mean that we know everything, but we understand what you're going through.
Yeah, we can absolutely empathize, and this is a good place to vent and to be upset and to have people that understand that aren't going to criticize you or make you feel any sort of way, but just supported.
Yes, absolutely. Well, with that, this is it for today. I am wrapping up. I'm closing. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Fantastic
Janelle.
session. Thank you. We are going to stop this recording. It will be posted in Diabetes 101 for Caregivers Facebook group. It also will be on our YouTube channel, Smart Move 360. And eventually, I will put together all Kim's presentations in a special course that will be available per request, and we will be offering it for people when they need it. So thank you very much, Kim. Thank you for
Welcome.
doing this. The
Thank you for
next
the
one,
opportunity.
next one will be in June, and we will announce the date. It's most likely the last Saturday of June, unless I will. Yeah, it's 28th of June for right now.